Platform powered by Zoom.
Hello and welcome to this special show. CNBC-TV18 presents Redefining CX, or the customer experience, the edge of collaboration platform powered by Zoom. I'm your host, Paromita Chatterjee. Now, digital transformation is forcing companies to change their business models and especially their entire customer experience journey. And what's different this time around is that a large part of this journey is being powered or pushed not by the brand itself, but actually by the customer whose expectations have changed in this new digital world. The customer of this new world expects relevant content that they desire in a format on the device of their choosing. So freedom of choice is the buzzword, and that is dictating the brand strategy. So let's find out a little bit more about this new age customer and how companies are redefining their customer experience with our power pack lineup of panelists, starting with Sameer Raje, General Manager and Head India and SAARC Region Zoom; KV Deepu, Head Operations and Customer Service, Bajaj Alliance GIC; Shubhranshu Singh, Vice President Marketing, Commercial Vehicle Business, Tata Motors; Harin Bhavsar, Head Customer Experience and Insights, Axis Bank; Kunal Purohit, Chief Digital Services Officer, Tech Mahindra; and Akanksha Garg, Head Digital Products and Product PMO, HDFC Securities. Great to have all of you with us. Thank you for sparing the time, because we are here today to talk about redefining the customer experience. So let me start with you, Sameer, and really break it down for us. How have you seen the entire customer experience process really change in this new digital world? And we're talking about the post-pandemic world. What are those key ingredients which are fueling this change and making for a new age digital experience for the customer?
First and foremost, Paromita, thank you for having me here, and my fellow panelists, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet and interact with all of you. So, in this last 2.5 years, probably, there has been a lot of digital transformation which we witnessed, and the way the technology has been used. On one hand, if we talk about the new generation, they were already using the best of the lot, the best of the technology, but the ones which were technology averse, they have also adapted to the digital tools. And that, if I have to, summarize in what is driving this and what is it going towards, I can probably highlight this or summarize this in 3 key critical areas. The first key area, which is resulting into this, is the freedom of choice that the customers are demanding. Customers are demanding more and more freedom of choice to work from anywhere, to place orders from anywhere, to buy from anywhere. That's the first thing, and that freedom of choice is not limited to the location. While one set of people keep on saying about hybrid world and all that stuff, but it is more about freedom of choice to buy anywhere, freedom of choice to interact anywhere, across devices, across platforms, across operating systems. The second is a holistic approach. What I mean by that is, gone are the days of the broken experience. If a customer is going to come in and view and or going to shop or try to browse through the products on one platform, buy on another, and then seek customer support on third one, and if all these 3 elements are not talking to each other, then it's a completely broken experience. This entire thing has to be stitched together. It's a very similar process like what used to happen in the olden days, where when file used to move from one table to another. Today, right, that's what exactly it is. In a digital world, it has to be a completely holistic and linked approach. That is one platform. And the final thing is about intelligence and analytics. Some form of intelligence, some form of analytics has to be there, because when a customer comes to buy or even seeks customer support, unless you have the data available as to what the customer has bought before, or what the customer has a mind share for, or you're unable to give that support, and you start every time there is an escalation or every time there is a new touch point. What is the product that you bought? And start from scratch. The customer gets frustrated. They want response now. It's the delay is not acceptable. These are the 3 key points which I can summarize, which the customers are going through for due to the digital transformation which got adopted.
So freedom of choice, I think you've underlined that, and really that seamless experience and the response time. They want those answers right here, right now. Harin Bhavsar, since it could be said that the banking sector perhaps has been ahead of the curve in terms of the other sectors as far as the digital experience and transformation is concerned. concern. Do you agree with a lot of what Sameer has said? What would you like to add to that?
I would like to take it forward from where Sameer left off in some of the points. I think if you were to look at the overall digital landscape, right, we have 20 or 30% more subscription in terms of digital usage. All our dominant channels, if I were to take a liberty in terms of representing the entire banking or BFSI scenario for that matter, you see a lot of digital acceptance from the channels which were traditional in nature, that was in branch, in store experience. With the paradigm shift, you already see a lot of people are adopting to mobile apps. And of course, when we have infusion or a tech infusion like fintechs coming in, you have that angle where if you were to take some key aspects from the other areas like FMCG, where the Amazoning concept of the time you order, you see a timeline till the time everything gets delivered to you. So I think these sort of expectations have started building in terms of in the BFSI space when it comes to, let's say, ordering or opening a credit card or getting your credit card delivered. When it comes to banking, I mean, we've been sitting on a mine of data in terms of all the customer information, the interactions. I think these are some of the things overall in the BFSI that have got picked up in terms of understanding the customer better, understanding their needs, simplification of the processes while abiding to the guidelines, and faster go-to market.
What happened during the pandemic is that every company, worth its salt, was rushing in this whole digital transformation process, and customer experience was a big part of that. And they were trying to do everything at the same time. Now that the dust is sort of settling, for instance, for you as a company, what are going to be those key priority areas, and how much of that is customer-led? What are those insights that you're getting in terms of what he or she wants?
So in terms of priority for us, Paromita and distinguished panel members here, one is since we get back into the hybrid world, we are talking about how we can continue to be digital, but digital with a human touch. And therefore, the accent is not so much on digitizing the physical, as it is on humanizing the digital. How do we get the best of man and machine? So that's clearly one focus area. The other is form factor. We all have seen the rise of voice. Earlier, we used to have documents, and then we moved into text, and then we moved into voice, and then into video. So increasingly, we are seeing the use of voice and video as significant platforms by which customer interactions can be leveraged.
Shubhangshu Singh is there with us from Tata Motors. And how are you sort of reorienting yourself, just taking forward some of the points shared by Deepu and Harin and Sameer, in terms of what are your key priority areas, and how are you preparing the customer and adjusting to these new customer experiences?
So, Paromita, the launch piece and the fact that due to constraints during the COVID period, many had chosen to do it purely virtually, to my mind was a factor of constraint. But I think the more important point, which a few of the panelists have already alluded to, there is a continuous shift in what customer experience expectations are. That revolution is being fueled by technology. And it's not that, people were looking to provide better customer experience and hence technology was sought after. I think consumer lives have gone increasingly digital, and end-to-end customer journeys, etc., are now so enabled by technology that the leaders are catching up, the others are scrambling to get there. The one piece that I would like to underline is that this customer experience expectations and the revolution that is on is across categories. So if you look at, let's say me, I speak of myself as a consumer. In any given day, I would go from an ICICI Bank to a Zerodha to a Licious to a Uber, and my expectations are being set by those experiences on an app or at an interaction or transaction level across industries. So there is a great fluidity which is at play. And lastly, I would say that whenever tech is getting appended, so there are whole categories and verticals that are getting completely disrupted or changed for the better. So now, 5 years ago, we didn't hear of an ed tech or a med tech or an ad tech or a fintech. And the tech there is not just an accelerator or an enabler. It's just a complete changeover. And therefore, there will be a number of ways in which consumer realities will stay ahead of companies. The smarter companies, the ones that are going to lead the way in the future, are necessarily going to be humble about learning there. So I think the future is very evenly spread out right in front of us. And I'm speaking here as a marketer. I think that's the powerful change that's come about.
Kunal, as a services company, as a tech, representing Tech Mahindra, you really have to cater to the customer in that sense. All of these companies here perhaps could be your future, if not existing customers, when they want to deliver that higher end experience. But it's easy to get sort of lost in all the technology offerings. I mean, what are some of the common mistakes or common challenges that you see companies making when it comes to these digital transformation sort of processes, where they come to you for help?
I think most industries today are going through some form or the other of such transformation. Areas where they falter are sometimes they become very inside out in their outlook. So automating the wrong processes, they are not really keeping the customer at the heart of their business. They are sometimes looking at too much inside, and therefore they are not really looking at where the value is getting created. So that's a big miss that many enterprises end up having, because they're not kept the customer, and particularly the changing customer behavior. We saw so many examples in the last couple of minutes where consumer or the customer is moving from one channel to another, one world to another. We help customers redefine the spend, realign spends to more digital, help them understand their customers better, use of data and AI, several examples, enabling their engagement with their customers in multiple verses, physical, digital, as well as the metaverse.
Akanksha, let me come to you, because HDFC Securities has been around. You're one of the oldest players in this market. Employee experience is closely linked to customer experience. I mean, how did you go about sort of reskilling? And was that a key challenge area, just getting your employees to up their game or digitize their processes and then interact with the customer?
Absolutely. So definitely employees, I can say, is more like, internal customers for us. Reason being, a happy employee only can give you a happy customer, basically. So in terms of process, if I talk about low-hanging fruits, are the first one wherein, we can have a single one view, you can say a 360 view for the customer, so that wheresoever the customer goes, they have the similar kind of experience at one point of time. Second, if I take an example from, customer engagement per se, looking at my industry, if I take an example, opening up a demat account, if I talk about, let's say, 10 years back, it was, roughly a 50-pager document with at least a 40-50 signatures, which is almost a half an hour job, and somebody has to visit to the branch. Vis-a-vis, if I talk right now, it is not less than, almost a 3 to 5 minutes journey, and, you are good to go. So how we can simplify the things for the end customer, that is the prima facie goal, which we as a HSL follow, wherein, rather than complicating things, we prefer how we can simplify the life for the person. If we are able to simplify it, make them, don't need to wait for any output or a result. And third thing, how fast, how easily they can achieve that goal.
On that note, let's head towards a short break. You're watching CNBC-TV18 Presents Redefining CX, powered by Zoom. We'll be back in just a bit. Welcome back to our special discussion on how to redefine the customer experience. And let's go ahead to our panelists and find out a little bit more about that journey. Akanksha, when it comes to handling money, I mean, these are very sensitive matters for people. Do you really want to hand it over to AI? I mean, what are those ceilings that you're facing in terms of, decision making, or where you take the customer experience to?
Okay, so if you ask me, I would always prefer to have, if I take it in one word, I would call it a personalization. Because as we all see, when we talk about money, it's very different. The kind of situation someone is going through, the kind of investment decisions, every person, even my investment decisions, that keeps on changing for the same person in different situations. Even the amounts, even the thought process, maybe my staying timelines. So definitely I would like to, leverage the technology, but at the same time, sometimes having, as I say, a human touch, wherein somebody who can access my individual needs and give me a right advice. So here in technology definitely can help me to give me a predictive analysis that, okay, this could be, perhaps the right three options. But out of these three, if I'm in a situation that which one I should go for in my current situation, that is where, the personalized, your personal RMs can definitely, give you a better guidance. A financial advisor here plays a big role over here.
KV Deepu, I mean, you've been somebody who's been watching this space and been part of this space for a while. We've been having quite a few conversations about this new hybrid world. So in today's world, looking at the future, looking at the current sort of realities as we emerge out of the pandemic and getting into this hybrid world, what are going to be the key priority areas that you'll be focusing on?
One is, clearly, and, ensuring that, we don't filter away the gains of, the work from home era. So we have come out of the policy which gives complete flexibility to employees. They can choose from work from home, work from office, work alternately, from home and office. Clearly that's one. The other is ensuring, that we sustain the digital journey. So for example, I spoke about multilingual. Now we're extending that, across the entire enterprise. Clearly that's the second aspect. The third is the form factor that I spoke about. Voice and video are here to stay, and they ensure that, we give as human and as real-time an experience as possible. That's the third aspect. The fourth is, ensuring that, for example, the co-creation model, the curating model, the co-browsing model, some of these, which really came to the fore, how do we extend that across the entire enterprise? So I think, these are 3-4 aspects, which we are focused on. And as we get back into the hybrid world, it's clearly helping us. And not to forget security and employee safety. I think, these are 2 aspects which continue to drive whatever we do. And that extends to our customers and partners as well.
Shubhranshu, question about the brick and mortar space. As we go phygital, how has the barometer of adoption been in the brick and mortar space?
I think the phygital adoption is working very well across the industry and for us, particularly when it comes to the area of due diligence. So consumers are now empowered, and large amounts of data access and large amount of internet access through smartphones mean that while they're on the go, they are comparing. There is a whole new genre of influencer videos. They're being able to engage on social media platforms. There's a large community, and we live in a country where almost 40 crore people are less than the age of 20 or thereabouts. So this is a hugely young country which is now getting hugely empowered with technology, and that makes for a virtuous combination. So I think the business of going to a dealership, getting a test ride, checking and clearing your doubts, testing the vehicle, etc., remain as important as they ever were. But there is a preceding part which has come into play, which is how they compare, how they get motivated, what they look for, and you can then read that at every touch point. And provided you're alert to the consumer signals, you're able to service them better and curate the experience that much better as well.
Where do you cross the line where you have so much of data on the customer, but there's also the issue of customer privacy and security of looking at the kind of cyber attacks that we are seeing? Gentlemen, Harin, let me start with you, because especially with the regulator always breathing down your neck, I mean, this is a huge area of concern.
Yeah, I think for banks, financial institution, overall, I think continuously strengthening. So how we continuously invest in improving or improving the customer's experience. I think there is one strong point where organizations are leveraging in terms of strengthening their core systems and the periphery systems as well, because with growing digitization and integrations available with fintechs, APIs, and all the other words that we keep hearing, I think there is one area of focus which every part of the organization understands, realizes, both in terms of customer education as well, when it comes to educating the customer in terms of OTP and all the other phishing attacks, malware attacks. On the second side, educating our internal staff in terms of what are the kind of policies at play, what are the things that we do as a part of the sign-off process. And of course, when it comes to cloud adoption, we have stringent controls in terms of ensuring that we are all around in terms of norms to have those leakages out of cover.
Final word to you, Kunal, since you've been really quite to the point in terms of what you think are some of those challenges that companies have been facing. What are going to be those key trends, and you see security emerging as a key trend which will also in some ways perhaps limit some of the tools that companies can access when it comes to getting to know their customers better?
Yeah, and I think security is getting embedded across all parts of the technology stack. So not just infrastructure, but across applications and the interface that you have with the brand. So that's one thing which is shifting. The second one, of course, is the privacy, data privacy, and the use of data that applications generate. What enterprises are doing is before they use your data, they're seeking consent. And therefore are able to, if you provide that consent, are able to provide you with personalized services. But security and the policies around privacy are significantly, being deployed to kind of make sure that there are no infringes there, and yet we are able to provide better customer experience. So, yeah, that continues to be a discussion around policy as well as what one should do and one should not do.
Indeed. And Samir, with the launch of 5G, what does it mean in terms of customer experience? I know we shouldn't just focus on the technology, but 5G has us all excited. What will it mean for our world?
So I think 5G is going to mean more, seamless integrations, more ease of use, more, immersive experience, if I may say that. We spoke about Meta, we spoke about integrations into multiple applications and devices. So that's what is going to be. 5G is going to be the way consumers interact with the companies or organizations, or even with each other, is going to change completely, because what we are used to versus what we will get in terms of the bandwidth, in terms of the usage experience will be completely different. It's going to be a lot more immersive. It's going to be a lot more hands-on. And, probably we are going to be living in a lot more virtual world than the physical world that what we are currently.
We've completely run out of time, and it's time for us to wrap up this discussion. It's been a fascinating journey of how each one of these brands and companies are redefining their customer experience in this new phygital world. We hope you gained some important insights. Thank you so much for being a part of this special show.